Hey, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and in this video I'm going to be showing you some underwater footage in which you're going to see lures rigged up properly versus improperly and how they react underwater when you're retrieving them. So the two lures that I'm going to show in this video, I have the 5-inch Alabama Leprechaun jerk shad, which is our custom jerk shad here at Salt Strong, and then our Slam Shady 2.0 paddle tail, which is our custom paddle tail here at Salt Strong. And I'm going to be rigging them up on jig heads. Now, it doesn't really matter if it's jig heads or weedless hooks, wide gap hooks. If your lures aren't rigged up straight and properly, you're not going to get the proper action out of those lures, which in turn, you're not going to get the proper reaction from the fish you're trying to go after, because number one, it could spook the fish if it's darting around too much and you don't want it to. And also, the fish can lose interest in your lure. It may not look appealing to them if it doesn't have the proper action. So let's go ahead and take a look at that underwater footage. I have both of these lures rigged up on jig heads. First, you're going to see each one rigged up properly, and then what it looks like underwater when it's rigged up improperly. So let's go ahead and take a look. So first is the jerk shad. This is the jerk shad rigged up properly. As you notice, when it sank to the bottom, went down nice and straight, and then when you retrieve it, you have an up and down bouncing motion, and it doesn't really go too erratically. It doesn't spin while you're retrieving it. It does, do some loops every now and then, but that's just the natural action of the jerk shad. So here's the jerk shad again, still rigged up properly, but retrieving it more mid to upper water column. As you can see, doesn't helicopter, doesn't spin, just has a nice darting erratic motion. Now here is the jerk shad rigged improperly. As you can see, it's not sitting right on the jig head. Usually that happens when you have too much meat of the lure on the jig head. The hook point doesn't come out properly. So when you go to retrieve this lure, initially when it sinks down, as you can see there, it spiraled down to the bottom, and you don't want that to happen. It just doesn't look natural. As you can see again, spirals down to the bottom. Now when you go to retrieve it, you're going to notice it sort of spins a lot compared to when it's rigged up nice and straight, and just doesn't look natural. If I was a fish, I probably wouldn't go after that. Just doesn't look good in general. So now we have the paddle tail. This is a Slam Shady 2.0 rigged up on the jig head properly. You can see it's nice and straight, nice and streamlined as you're doing a straight, steady retrieve. And then when you go to bounce the lure or jig the lure, it does a nice straight up and down, action to it. It doesn't spin around, it doesn't helicopter because it's on the hook nice and straight. And now we have the lure rigged improperly. As you can see, very similar to the jerk shad, it has that curve to the body because there's just too much meat of the lure on the hook, and it's going to make for a very awkward looking profile, and when you retrieve it, it's going to have a little bit of a spin to it. As you can see here, that lure sort of turns to the side every now and then. And then lastly, the Slam Shady 2.0 rigged up improperly when you're jigging it along the bottom. As you can see, it sort of spirals down to the bottom. While it doesn't look too bad, it can twist up your line and lead to some wind knot issues. So definitely something you want to consider and be aware of when you are rigging up your lures, just to make sure they're nice and streamlined so it doesn't lead to any issues with your line and also doesn't deter the fish from going after your lure. So throughout the day when I'm fishing, I'm constantly checking my lures, making sure they are rigged up properly. If it gets snagged or if you get a fish that strikes short, it could move that lure on the hook, and when you go to make your next cast, that lure won't have the proper action. So pretty much every cast I will just do a quick look over of my lure, make sure it's nice and straight on the hooks properly. That way I will get the most out of the action and the most out of the lure when I am using it. So hopefully these tips can help you out, and if you want even more help catching more inshore fish, and we guarantee that, highly recommend checking out our Salt Strong Insider Club at saltstrong.com. And if you are interested in any of these lures, we do sell them on our shop page at fishstrong.com. You can pick some up, and if you're one of our insider members, keep in mind that you do get up to 20% off everything on the shop page, so definitely be sure to take advantage of that. If you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best online fishing club in America because we actually guarantee that you'll catch more fish while saving time and also money on the tackle you need. We do this through premium education, our exclusive insider fishing community, and huge discounts on the best tackle for saltwater anglers. To learn more, go to saltstrong.com. Otherwise, we hope to see you again soon.